Now, with this pandemic, a lot of us was forced to come out of the
Change.
Stone Age. So,
All right. So, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I am Latanya Smith, the CEO and founder with Speak Life to Youth and Children, or SICK International. And today we are continuing our program on purpose, passion, and career. And the topic will be a purpose in law. A speaker for today is a good friend, brother of mine in Tallahassee, Mr. Eddie Williams III, who's a partner in Holland and Knight's law firm in Tallahassee. He's been practicing law for several years. He received his bachelor's degree, magna cum laude from Albany State University, his JD magna cum laude from Nova Southeastern University and Shepherd Broad College of Law. He's married to my sister, Tanisha Williams, and they have one daughter who is a senior this year. He is a member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity and other nonprofit organizations providing community service. Personal note, it is a jokes. I love him. I love his family. I was there when their daughter was born. That's been 18 years ago. Man, I am old, Miss Belinda. And he's just a beautiful spirit, wonderful person, him and his family. His mom cooks awesome dressing. It's been years ago since I had that, but she does. So I'm going to turn it over to him. Hopefully we have some other participants join in. Belinda, feel free to ask questions as he proceeds. And Mr. Eddie, it's in your hand.
thank you, Latanya. I really appreciate invite and being a part of this. And again, please stop me at any time you want to ask a question. I would love to just have a conversation versus just me just continue to ramble or whatever. But and already it's not fair because you're drinking some coffee and I hadn't had any this morning, so I'm at a disadvantage. But thank you again, Latanya, for the invite. And she's again, as she stated, I appreciate the warm welcome and the intro. And you have been a part of our family's life since we moved to Tallahassee many years ago, and we connected at our church. And you had definitely been a part of our daughter's life, Brittany, from day one. And I can just still recall those times. On her birthday, she had just came back from Texas. I think she was like 3 years old. And we had a birthday party for her, and all the kids and everybody was around. And when one person walked in the building, she stopped everything and would immediately started running. There go Miss Tanya, Miss Tanya. I still recall that. So you've just been a part of her life for inspiration, and we thank you for that. But again, Latanya gave you a brief information about my background. My name is Eddie Williams. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Holland and Knight. My primary practice is healthcare regulatory work. So I am, quote unquote, a healthcare lawyer. I initially, however, that was not my original intent or my original career path when I started pursuing a career in law. Just as far as my initial decision to try to be a lawyer, growing up in Southwest Albany, Georgia, when we were quote unquote latchkey kids during those particular times growing up, and during the summer when our parents were working, the rule was you stay in the house. So during the summertime, plus it was too hot to go outside during the day. And so during the summer times, I would always watch Perry Mason and Matlock. Those were my Monday through Friday, my daily routine. You start off, in the morning with cartoons or whatever sitcom, but around 11 o'clock noon, Perry Mason, Matlock, those were just my typical shows. And that sparked my interest of being a lawyer. Didn't know anything about being a lawyer other than that, but that just started my initial determination to be an attorney. And of course, as I matured and went through high school and things of that nature and got a job part-time while I was going through college, at the Albany Police Department, I was able to interact with the court system as well during that particular time, because I worked in the evidence and property management room. So I got the opportunity to handle evidence and things of that nature. And so I learned a little bit more. And I got to interact with the district attorney and the assistant district attorneys and investigators and things of that nature on that side of it, and judges as well. And so there was a lot of very inspirational people that I came to know as part of that experience working there. And so my mind was say, hey, I want to be a district attorney one day, come back to Albany and be the district attorney in Albany, and eventually become a judge. And when I matriculated through Albany State, I was fortunate enough that one of my professors, Dr. Neota Tucker, she was in the political science department, and that's what my major was in. And she had went to the University of Georgia School of Law, College of Law, and she was the first African-American female ever admitted and graduated from the University of Georgia College of Law. And so that was a big, inspiration and motivation for me as well. And she did everything she possibly could to help pursue my goal and my dream of being a lawyer as well. And so after I graduated from Albany State, it was a year between me graduating and then going off to law school at Nova Southeastern University. My first experience of leaving Georgia, heading all the way down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to attend law school. So that was a total different experience for me. Here I am coming from Southwest, small town in Southwest Georgia, going all the way down to the big city, Fort Lauderdale. I'm in class with other students who went to all these major universities, Wisconsin, the Florida States, the Miamis, all over are there in my class. And I'm like, man, how am I going to be able to compete with these students? And I just came from little Albany State. Well, the old saying of it's not where you go, is what you do where you go. I learned very quickly that not only could I be competitive with my counterparts who went to these major PWIs, but basically advance and exceed them. I learned that very well. So I really enjoyed law school. It was a wonderful experience, and it just solidified my decision to pursue a career as being a lawyer. However, again, my goal and dream was at the initial time was to be a district attorney and then eventually a judge. But I went to law school during the time that the O.J. Simpson trial was active. And if you're familiar with the O.J. Simpson trial, it was it was like a soap opera every single day. And eventually that turned me off so bad. I don't know why it turned me off so bad. I made up my mind. I never want to see a courtroom if I have to practicing law. So what can I do to avoid having to be an attorney in a courtroom? I took me and one of my close friends in law school took a course, Introduction to Income Tax, income taxation. And man, I was just floored. I just loved it, and that's how, quote unquote, some people call me a nerd, because reading regulations and statutes and like that, people were just like, no, I can't do that. But I loved it, enjoyed it. And so that made my decision. I say, hey, I want to be a tax attorney. And so I pursued that. After I graduated from law school, I pursued my master's in tax law at the University of Florida, which was a year-long program in that graduate tax program, which is every year flip-flops on being number one and number two in the nation. Them and the New York University have the top tax program. So me and my friend eventually became a roommate at the University of Florida. We both got into the program, and we, excelled. And after that, um, I graduated from the tax program, and then I started working at Holland Night. Got the call, I interviewed, and they were trying to launch a state and local tax, national state and local tax program at the law firm. And I started off as a state and local tax attorney, primarily handling matters dealing with sales and use tax, state corporate income tax, just state taxes on the state level. Helping businesses, have work through any type of audits and assessments and things of that nature to resolving issues they may have with your state Department of Revenue. So that's where I began my career here in Holland Night in Tallahassee, Florida. And since Tallahassee is the capital of Florida, seat of the government, all the major state agencies are here, the Department of Revenue, it was just ideal. About maybe 4 years into my career at Holland Night, 4 or 5 years, the state and local tax industry sort of basically kind of was so saturated because a lot of the CPA firms, the large CPA firms, were having their CPAs handle a lot of these state and local tax matters all the way up until they can go to court. Since they're not lawyers, they couldn't handle any litigation. So it just became, the field became so saturated that I just said, okay, I need to make a change, career path change. And so I started working with other attorneys within my firm who were doing healthcare work. And it just started off by basically just doing some simple assignments, research assignments in the area of healthcare law. And one was HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, and the private, data privacy and things of that nature. Again, it sort of married what I love doing anyway, as far as on the federal side or state side, dealing with regulations and statutes. Healthcare regulatory attorneys the same way, doing a lot of statutes and regulations. And so I just made the change, and eventually my workload flipped from being, the bulk 90% state and local tax, 10% healthcare, to it was the completely opposite way around. And now all I do now is primarily healthcare work. My day-to-day work in this particular field, I help companies, your healthcare companies, assisted living facilities, nursing homes, some hospitals, healthcare clinics, and things of that nature. On the entity level, I help them deal with the various regulatory aspects that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, to just stay in compliance with the various healthcare laws, not only on the state, but also on the federal level as well. I do a lot of HIPAA and data privacy, helping companies implement their policies and procedures to protect patient health information and things of that nature. Do various trainings for them as well in that particular field. So that is primarily what I do on a day-to-day basis. I believe it just fits my character because I'm a helper. I love to help people. And so I try to help my clients do the best they can to stay in compliance with the laws. And when there's issues, I try to assist them with resolving those issues with the state regulatory agencies. I still don't go to court, which I'm very thankful for. With being in a large firm like Holland Night, we have a litigation group. So we have healthcare litigation attorneys. So we always team up and bring them in if we have to do any type of litigation on the administrative side or court side to resolve any issues. So it was sort of it just worked itself out, and I'm so thankful, and I'm still enjoying what I do every day. It can be taxing, can be frustrating, because when you get, say, especially at the end of this year, when there are a lot of healthcare transactional work going on, where companies are trying to acquire other companies, and you have to deal with the licensure and filing requirements. It can be very, very busy at this time of year, which it is. But that's a good thing, because there are some months where the work can be kind of slow. So you have to just ride the wave and enjoy it while you can. So, but with that, I will stop and open up the floor for any questions that you may have.
Ms. Belinda, I'm gonna start with you if you have any.
I was taking some notes here, but it's really not questions. I found that it was very interesting to hear that on the attorney side that your market can be saturated. That kind of really floored me. And you know, if this is going out to young individuals that are thinking in that field, that really opens up the line to let them know that it doesn't matter what it is that you do, there'll always be a market for it. And to me, that was strange that you found yourself in that situation where you could not continue tax, or you did not want to continue tax law because the market was saturated and there was just so much, I don't really want to say competition, but there was just so many other people in that field. The other thing that that I do want you to address and elaborate on is a lawyer equaling a helper, because not too many people think about a lawyer as a helper, and you're on the flip side. And it's refreshing for me to hear that you love helping people, and yet you chose a field where the majority of people don't see you as a helper.
Yeah, unfortunately, attorneys, we always be the brunt of the jokes and things of that nature. And that doesn't bother me because there are a lot of bad attorneys out there who try to do everything they can to take advantage of people. But guess what? There are people in this world who just try to take advantage of other people. Um, and but again, I see myself as a helper, and that's how I really go about my day-to-day business, as trying to help clients who come to me to resolve any issues or seek guidance on any issues as to how they can accomplish X, Y, Z while staying within the boundaries of the law and not running afoul of the requirements of the law. Um, and so that's basically how I view myself. And I think that's an important aspect that people need to view a lot of lawyers as. I mean, when you really look at the issue, if you're in trouble with the law, say for instance, a criminal defense attorney, their primary goal is to represent you, not to judge you based on your guilt or innocence, but try to help you get out of that particular situation with the best possible remedy or recourse as they can possibly get for you in your situation. If you're in an accident and you've been injured, you have an attorney to represent you to try to help you recoup your damages, to make you whole to the extent it's possible. And so, again, from that aspect, the attorney is a helper. So that's again how I look at it. Again, I understand that there are bad apples in this particular field. There are always going to be bad apples in this particular field, and we regulate ourselves. The courts regulate us as well with respect to, I have served in the past on the grievance committee with respect to the Florida bar. And we, in that particular role, we heard cases against attorneys, stealing funds, stealing clients' funds and things of that nature, not being a good communicator with their clients, letting them languish if they paid you funds and then you not do the work. So in those particular cases, we do have those attorneys sanctioned and disciplined, and even in matters having their license suspended or revoked. So again, we try to do our best to weed out the bad apples. Just like, say for instance, you have a doctor who's not a good doctor, he would have to go before the medical board and explain his situation and justify keeping his license because he can't be out there doing harm to individuals. So that's how I look at it.
Okay, so I have I'm not gonna say question, maybe it ended up being a question. You mentioned early on that from looking at Matlock and what was the other show?
Perry Mason.
Perry Mason, and that struck you, okay, maybe law, and then your dream at that time was to become a DA and eventually a judge. And how could you go more detail how the whole OJ Simpson thing just changed your trajectory, because it literally changed from what you thought you wanted to another side of law?
Well, and just a little bit more background about me. My father was a police officer with the city of Albany. So I've always been around growing up, law enforcement. Even in my father, I saw him as a police officer, always helping individuals. There were so many times he would get calls to the house from some individual whose son or daughter has gotten in trouble, and they're calling him to see what he can do to help them out. But again, the Perry Mason and Matlock, and I did not want to be a police officer, and my parents didn't want me to be a police officer. So that was never going to happen. I was not going to pursue that. But again, the Perry Mason, Matlock, that just sparked my interest. And again, being involved and working at a police station and being having interaction with judges in the court system, again, increased my desire to want to be an attorney. And again, like you say, the goal was to be a DA, to come back and be a DA in Albany, and eventually become a judge. The O.J. Simpson trial, I saw where it's hard to explain, but basically I came to the conclusion, and I made this statement to myself: who am I to judge someone based upon a particular set of circumstances, and then societal issues involved as well, to say that this individual needs to go to jail for the rest of their life or not? And I had difficulty playing a part in a system that really makes those decisions rightly and a lot of times wrongly. And I know we are a nation of laws, and we have laws for a reason, and we have to comply with them. But I could not be a part of a system that I really didn't believe was fair. And I just didn't want to be a part of any type of system like that. And I give kudos to all the attorneys out there who do a lot of defense work, and with respect to civil liberties and things of that nature, because they're fighting to make the system fair to everyone. My colleague, attorney Ben Crump, here in Tallahassee, he's doing a lot all over the nation, trying to bring fairness to a lot of injustice and things of that nature. But I just couldn't be a part of that system. I did not want to be a part of that system, and that just turned me off from wanting to ever be a district attorney, knowing that at that particular time I was feeling that the system was not fair. And when I mean not fair to African Americans, not fair to individuals who did not have the financial means to afford some of the best representation. O.J. Simpson, he had the financial means to afford some of the best representation. However, any other individual just off the street would not have been able to afford Johnny Cochran and those other attorneys to represent them. And so with the system stacked as it was, as it is, it's difficult. And for an individual to try to get what are quote unquote justice, equal justice under the law. And so I just could not be a part of that system. And that made me make that decision that I didn't want to ever be in a courtroom in that particular arena.
Does anybody else have any questions before I ask another one?
I'll ask a question.
Okay.
just speaking to some of the statements that you just made, and maybe I guess you would call it a recent movie. I forget the name of it, but Jamie Foxx and Michael B. Jordan, and with the regards of people not having means for representation. What's your opinion on, or your perspective on how we could create more programs like that program? I believe it was something about mercy. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, Just Mercy.
Just Mercy. So what would be your perspective? Why is not as many of those programs that are operating, or if they are operating, or how could people in need find them?
Well, those programs are operating. Even in that particular one, if you saw at the very end, that gentleman is still doing a lot of that work. And there are a lot of those agencies, organizations out there who are doing that work. And it's not the work that, say, for instance, you go to law school and your desire is to, have the big home and all of this, the fancy cars. It's not that you're not going to get that out of that particular type of work. So it's going to take a special individual who really has that passion to serve in that particular area to do that type of work. And we as a community, we have to support those organizations, just like we support any other organization like the March of Dimes and things of that nature, by making donations to those organizations, because they can only do what they have the financial backing to be able to support, because it's expensive to, when you have any type of trials, when you're having to go back and investigate any type of issues that happened in the past for an individual's conviction. It takes a lot of funds to pay for depositions, to pay for court costs and things of that nature. So it's very expensive. And so we have to support them in that particular aspect as well, by making donations to those organizations. And then you can also encourage individuals to, volunteer with those organizations as well. And just like, we have interns and things like that, you can have individuals in law school try to intern with those organizations. And sometimes those interns, they really understand and love that is their passion, and they want to stay in that particular field to help individuals who they feel have been wrongly incarcerated and convicted. So I agree that, those programs are extremely, extremely important, because there are a lot of individuals who have been wrongly convicted and they're still fighting. And the sad part about it is, generally, when they're released, it's maybe 20, 30 years later, and their whole life has been, behind prison bars, and now they're being pushed into a society, and society says, well, congratulations, you're free now, and that's it. It's sad when our systems are set up where we have to go to court or the legislature to get a bill passed to compensate those individuals. And of course, a lot of our legislatures are controlled by individuals who do not have any type of passion or compassion for those particular individuals, and will not pass legislation to grant them any type of relief. It's very, very hard. I've seen in some cases where a claims bill has to be filed each and every year from maybe 5 to 10 years just to get individual compensation for being wrongly convicted and having to serve maybe 20 and 30 years in prison because of, quote unquote, an unfair system. So I hope that answers your question.
It did.
Okay, well, I got another question, well, actually a little bit tag on to what Ms. Belinda said. I guess a little bit, I think I touched on a little bit. You said you decided law, And I guess for the young people, when they decide if they want to major and go to be a doctor or an attorney or a teacher or professor, just saying that is broad, and how by chance or circumstance, it ended up being you narrow your field to what you are doing now. You went from law to possibly a judge to just this to just that, and now you're here. So what would you tell young people if they say they want to major in law? How would you tell them, or what would you tell them to go about choosing what branch of law, what part of law, and possibly not being saturated in what they decide to do? How would you tell them, or what would you tell them the steps to move forward to decide on exactly what their purpose is, I guess?
Well, I joke about this all the time. Anyone that says I want to be a lawyer, I tell them go to medical school, go to be an engineer, go do something else. And I say because that's your first mistake when you say you want to be a lawyer. And I say that jokingly because if you major determination, I would like to know what you major determination on. Growing up, my parents didn't go to college. Me and my siblings and a lot of my cousins in our particular generation, we were first time college enrollees, attendees. And so my parents didn't have the mindset of when we were growing up, you're going to college. The mindset of was you need to make good grades in school and then get out and get a job. You know, the choice was yours if you want to go to college or not. With our daughter, you know, from day one when she was born, you know, it's been the conversation, no, you're going to college, period. You know, there's no if, and, buts about it. You're going to college. And so I didn't have any direction as far as, you know, when I made a decision I wanted to be a lawyer, I didn't have anyone challenge that decision and say, well, have you thought about any other careers? You know, what about being a doctor? What about being an engineer? What about being this? And I wish growing up that I had that interaction, because then I could have really evaluated my decision. But I'm happy again that I chose a career in law. But I would also tell, like my daughter, I tell my daughter to do just, you know, about these other career fields. And she is set on going into the medical field. And so I'm going to do everything me and my wife possibly can to help her achieve her goal of going into the medical field. And I would advise anyone, you know, if they decide whatever they want to do, go talk to an individual in that particular field. Ask them, you know, what made them go into that particular field, what, you know, their choice. Is it their first career, or is it a second career for them? You know, if they had to change, the reason why behind that, you know, so you got to do a lot of your due diligence. But the key is try to find someone in that particular field, speak to them, ask them, you know, could they respectively become your quote unquote mentor? Because you would really like to learn from them and try to see if this is the decision that really is for you. Um, when we went to law school, we met a gentleman, I can't remember who it was, but he was from the local community down in Fort Lauderdale. And it was before school started, and we met him and we was talking to him. He was a judge. And he was basically saying, hey, the first year of law school is not about the law. It's not about whether you become, it's all going to be about what, if you have what it takes in your heart to be a lawyer. So you're all smart, you know, he was telling us all this, but it's really going to be about, do you have what it takes in your heart to go through this process to be a lawyer? And you can really see when we started law school, the first couple of weeks, it was like, man, this is nothing. This is just like undergrad. It's just go to class, lecture, and just have a few conversations. The third week, it's like every single class, you got assignments that were basically designed for you not to complete them. Almost for you to say, I throw my hands up and I give up. And it keeps building like that. And you're being challenged in class, when a teacher calls upon you, and if you're not prepared, things of that nature, you sort of get embarrassed a little bit. And law school is another aspect of it is you go through a whole semester, no tests. It's not like undergrad where you have a section, you have a test, see how you get a report back, see how well you are doing, you got grades. Law school is totally different. You go through a whole semester and you get one test at the very end of each and every class. And so it's either pass, fail at that particular level. You get a grade, but it's just one shot at the very end. So it's on you to make sure that you are understanding the information, analyzing the laws, and being able to be successful. Same thing, when you take the bar exam, it's one shot, pass or fail. So again, I would definitely challenge an individual, why are they making that decision? What's your passion? Try to learn a lot about what are you doing when you're making that particular decision. Don't ever make a decision based upon assumed financial gain, meaning a lawyer, I can make a lot of money. There are a lot of poor lawyers in this country. Just like there are a lot of poor other professionals in this country. Never make a decision based upon an assumed or expected financial income or gain that you expect to achieve. You also have to think about, are you going to be happy pursuing that particular career? Say, for instance, I work at, and you also need to understand, for as law, the type of law firm or law practice you want to have. I work at a law firm with over, I would say right now, we're probably about 1,400 lawyers. So it's a very large law firm. That could be a huge and stressful task because you're measured on the bottom line. And at the end of the day, you can be the nicest person, you can do great in your community, but when it comes to the law firm, they're looking at you as a number. And can you handle that? And that's tough sometimes. I've had challenges handling that. When that really sometimes doesn't match your character or match your personality trait. We talked about me being a helper. That really a lot of times doesn't match up. I have to make it match up with that aspect of generating business for the firm and, handling those pressures. When you're in a smaller law firm, sometimes you may have to take on a lot of tasks or a lot of matters that you're really not a specialize in, because you have to live by this motto: I have to eat what I kill, meaning whatever comes to the door, you have to take on because you have to survive, and your practice has to survive. So that can be tough as well, and it could lead to issues with respect to you may not do well in one particular representation, and then the next thing the community or individuals who may refer you may not want to refer you in the future because you didn't do a pretty good job in one particular type of matter. So it's tough. Latanya, again, I would encourage individuals, think about other avenues that are out there. Bottom line, medical field, you're always going to need people in the medical field. You're going to need doctors, you're going to need nurses, there's so many areas in the medical field. You need administrators, of hospitals and things of that nature. So I would definitely encourage individuals to think outside of the box. I know traditionally, lawyers is always included in that, profession that's highly regarded, but think of other professions as well. So that's what I would try to advise someone.
Okay. Anybody else have any more questions, comments? No. So Eddie, with your law firm, do you all have interns or possibly avenues in which middle school and high school students could come and sit in and observe?
We don't have any programs on that particular level. Generally, the interns that they do bring in, sometimes law clerks, those individuals are college students.
Okay.
So they have the flexibility with their courses and course schedules in college to, perhaps dedicate 4 to 5 hours per day as an intern. So those are the only areas. Now we do have some, but again, those particular levels are reserved for law school students. When we have law, can't think of it. During the summertime, they come in and they work with us during the summer. But those individuals are actually getting paid, and they're actually being evaluated for an invitation for a job offer at the end of their law school career. So that's a little bit different. But on that particular lower level, we don't have that opportunity.
Okay.
That will have to be one of those aspects where you have, you would have to really talk to an attorney one-on-one to sort of be that little mentor for them, or, hey, maybe you can shadow me this particular day, but they have to go through the firm or however they work with, because you have to make sure that you're keeping client information confidential. So that's the issue with that.
Okay. All right. We have
My
made.
question.
Go ahead, Belinda.
Okay. I see your background. You have pledged regarding young adults. Yeah, I'm going to go there. Regarding young adults, have your brotherhood played any part of you getting into the firms that you have gotten into? And would you advise any of them, no matter what field that they go into, to pledge to a fraternity?
No, not based upon don't pledge a fraternity or sorority for purposes of you thinking that's going to be your key to getting a job or things of that nature. Now I can tell you there are a lot of opportunities. Say, for instance, my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma, when we go to conferences, a national conference, you have employers, you have principals at schools, you have individuals in, say, for instance, some law enforcement agencies and other type of companies that have hiring power. And basically they're telling all of the collegians who are about to graduate or, junior or senior in college, hey, I need your resume. I got job opportunities, I'm hiring. So they will hire you. So that I won't say that there's not a benefit for being a member of the fraternity, but I wouldn't say don't join solely because of that. I didn't become a member of our fraternity until graduate. I came through the graduate chapter, so it was a post legal law career and all that. So, but again, it happens, but I wouldn't say make your decision upon joining any fraternity or sorority based upon you believe you're going to get a hookup for a job through that particular fraternal or connection. But it does happen.
Okay. Well, we're about 8 minutes before 1. Does anyone have any other comments, questions, accolades before we end this session?
Hi, Ms. Latanya. This is Denise. How are you?
Hi, Denise. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I just kind of signed in, but I would like to just ask, hi, Eddie. How are you?
Doing good. How about you?
Great. Why did you say that so slow?
Tanisha, it's fine. Let's see your face.
Okay,
No,
but anyway, I
I
was
just
thinking.
no. I saw my wife pop up on the screen.
Okay.
She had her camera off, not had it on. That's why I was like,
Okay. Well, I was wondering, like, when it comes down to youth, how can we make careers like being an attorney more attractive to teens? What I find is that, first of all, they're in an identity crisis. And then because I don't think they're exposed to enough different types of career opportunity, or even sparking the interest to create a vision, or I'm trying to see how can we help youth to start looking in the future to look at careers like being an attorney or, you know, a medical doctor, you know, in other words, because right now they only see what they see, and then so their generation is perpetuated where they go and work at Walmart and different things like that. But how can we show them how this can be achievable to them, you know, but then kind of sparking that interest in them while they're young, so when they get to high school, they already know what they want to at least try.
Programs like this, like what Latanya is doing, is one of them. Also, say for instance here locally in Tallahassee, if you know, say for instance, I'm an attorney, I know some other attorneys, we'll be happy to come speak with a group of students, and to just like we're doing now, young people, to explain what we're doing and answer questions about our particular field, and if anyone interested, you know, and try to learn more about it. You got doctors who are willing to do the same thing, to try to come speak to them, to give them an idea of what they do on a day-to-day basis. So if they have a desire to go in that particular field, to really try to open their minds up, and, you know, just like you're saying, you got to be able to visualize that there's more out there than what your, say for instance, your neighborhood may be on a day-to-day basis. So like you say, they may just go in one quadrant of the city of Tallahassee and not know that there's something totally different on the other side of Tennessee Street, of Monroe Street, you know. So you have to think about that, you know, try to get our kids to place in some type of STEM programs, even if just a 2-week camp or something like that, to give them an opportunity to see that there are other areas out there that they can be involved in, that they can pursue, versus what, like you say, you know, working at Walmart, working at the mall or McDonald's and things of that nature. Not saying that it's anything wrong with that, because you got individuals who went to college majoring in business and they're managers, you know. So, but I would just say, you know, we have to try to do our best to broaden their lenses a little bit, so they can see that there's more opportunities out there for individuals who look just like me, and that I can take advantage of that if I want to. And we also have to support them and help them. It's not one thing to just introduce them to it and just say, okay, now go for it. We have to support them as well. So that
Yeah,
is what I have to offer on that.
you make a good point, because, and you're right, it's not like McDonald's and stuff or Walmart is bad, but we do know that working in those places does not, that will not allow you to be self-sustaining, in that
Correct.
you will have enough money to take care of your, you know, your immediate needs or your expenses. And so, but maybe some ideas also may be seeing how we can kind of partner with schools, so that we can get the word out to the children and also to the parents, to let them know what's out there. And I think that right there is like a heavy lift right there, trying to get the parents involved. But if we can try to help get the parents involved, so that they can get their child exposed to more, then that might give them a greater chance of being able to be more successful and also have a greater vision just in repeating what they see that's happening in their community.
Hey, excuse me if I may interject, Miss Denise. I'm not sure where you're located, but I'm a teacher at the wonderful school of R. Frank Nims, and we do have a new law program. So that's one way, like you said, just to support schools that are making those type of programs and being innovative in that way. So, and Mr. Eddie, also to you, you're in Tallahassee, so I don't know if you already have that connection, but I could definitely have my principal reach out to you to help support in that program.
Okay.
You met Jakari, is my nephew, so you met him before. He is an educator in Tallahassee, as along with Mr. Ackerman, which is Elder Holton's son. Elder Holton's on the phone. We have several educators on the phone. Miss Belinda homeschools her kids, so she's an educator too. We have a manager, my cousin Brenda. We have a nurse, Miss Tanisha. We have another man, Marla. So we have several professionals on here in different walks of life. So we're gonna keep moving forward and try to get our youth eyes open to different things and different avenues. But Jakari's been working at NIM School for I don't know how many years. So he's been wonderful in 6 years. So Tanisha, Jakari, Denise, Eddie, Elder Holton, and Mr. Ackerman, all of you all are located in Tallahassee or in or around Tallahassee.
Okay, can I piggyback on what Denise, Miss Denise and Jakari had said?
Okay.
Because I am originally born in New York, educated in New Jersey, settled in Georgia for a little bit, but I'm Florida bound, honestly. And me being a homeschooler for the past 12 years. I know LT, you said that you was old because you have watched Mr. Eddie's, but I will remind you that I have a 21-year-old here. Yeah. And my 19-year-old is headed to the Marines tomorrow.
Okay.
If I did not expose my children to different areas and avenues and walks and businesses, they wouldn't be able to make the choices that they make, and they're good ones, because the whole key to it, college or not, is to follow your passion. And wherever your passion is what is going to propel you and make you a well-rounded individual. I went to college. I'm not doing anything that I went to college for. I went in there for marketing, but I only went to college because at that time, that's what corporate paid me to do. Panasonic paid for my education as long as I was still working for the company. And in turn, I turned marketing into making other top dollar companies fortunes. And I came to Georgia to turn the table around on myself. Never knew I would get into real estate. I love real estate. Real estate is now my passion. That's my marketing. But I also have 3 other businesses that's, we have going on also. So it is about following your passion. And it definitely is about getting to the parents. Because in my time, that the reason why I pulled my children out of the school is because of what other parents were not exposed. Well, it was a culture shock to me how other parents were not exposing their children to certain things, which would kind of level off what mine were doing. My children, we travel where others are staying put, and everything is a culture shock. So really getting to the parents will help with exposing the children to other things. It's not enough to beat the children down. It's everything to get to the parents, to help them see that there is more to it than what the community has to offer, to help them be able to nourish and encourage their child so that the cycle can stop.
And I agree with that totally. Pre-COVID, before COVID, one of the goals for SLIC within the next probably 2 years now because of COVID is to expose children in this area to different colleges outside this area, to different, one of my goals is to eventually, once every 2 years, take a group of kids on a 3-day cruise for those who've never experienced being out on the water, or taking them to Florida Disney World, or taking them to DC, just taking them different places. Because in a small town, growing up in a small town, if you do not have parents that are venturing out, you're not going to have kids that's going to venture out as well. So that is one of SLIC's goals, and I'm appreciative of those who are supporting and participating and joining me in this effort. And I totally agree with everything that has been said here. Any other comments? Ms. Tanisha, yeah, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Well, I just want to say that my husband did an amazing job today. Shouts out to him. Thank you for having him. That's it.
All right, I'm gonna leave that. That's good for you. I'm gonna leave that for now. Anything else? Elder Houghton, Mr. Ackerman, Sarah, Brenda, Marla. Nobody wants to say anything. Okay, well, thanks, Mr. Williams.
That's what happens when you listen to a lawyer. Talk all the time. You know, we're like, okay, we got to get this guy out of here.
You're so funny. You're so funny. Elder Houghton?
I certainly enjoyed that I heard from the speaker, and just encourage him to keep on encouraging and being a part. Look to hear more from everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Elder Houghton. I miss you.
Long time no see.
I know. We got to connect again, man. Okay,
Good,
I'm sorry.
well, good.
I'm
Here we go.
Yes, indeed.
So,
Eddie, I certainly enjoyed Mr. Williams.
So this is a reunion of sorts for some of you all, or some of us on the phone. But thank you, Mr. Williams. Excellent job. Lots of information. I enjoyed it. We will be having you back in about 6 months. Ms. Tanisha, you will be on here too. So as a nurse, so we will be getting you. So get prepared. Denise coming up. So we already have our speakers for the first quarter of next year. So we have, so we're moving on and we keep pushing. And I thank you all for speaking life with me for the children. And I look forward to seeing you. If you can, next Saturday, we're having a cooking demonstration with a neighbor across the street from me. Chicken Alfredo pizza, something for kids can do for themselves. We're trying to help parents to stay out the kitchen as much. So that's something. And then next year, we're gonna kick it off with another cooking demonstration by the justices. And the end of next month, we have a former professional basketball player who played across seas until he shot out his knee. And he is an administrator with the state of Georgia now. He wants to talk to the kids about his career, short-term career in basketball, and why he decided to have a backup plan. So Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy New Year. If I don't see you all, and looking forward to speaking more with you all at the beginning of the year. Thank you. Bye, Tanisha. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great job, Eddie.